What's good, YouTube? Justin Righteous here, back with another reaction video. I like to yap on world topics, but I don't just yap. I break down the content, I share my own lessons from my own experiences, and I call out the misinformation. Okay, today we have what did cavemen actually do all day? I mean, today's kind of a little bit more of a different video, but I don't know much about cavemen, but I think about them a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I think about them a lot. I always think about what they did and how that affects the way we live today. These are our ancestors. These are the people, they have built our soul. Our body remembers them. Our subconscious remembers them. The things that they did, we now do subconsciously. Our bodies, they shaped our bodies. Their habits shaped the way our bodies function. So let's get straight into the video, man.
Limestone cave. Their landscape as dawn breaks over the rugged landscape as a small group of humans emerges from the mouth of a limestone cave. Their day has already begun. Some scanning the horizon for game, others gathering kindling for the fire that never fully dies out. But what exactly filled the hours of our Paleolithic ancestors? The popular image of cavemen dragging women by the hair and clubbing mammoths hardly captures the complexity of their daily existence. So how did they spend their waking hours when survival was a full-time occupation? When we speak of cavemen, we're referring to humans who lived during the Paleolithic period, spanning from approximately 2.6
Paleolithic, that's 3 million years ago, from 3 million years ago to 10,000 BC. 10,000 BC, I'm pretty sure, is agriculture. Yeah, agriculture begins. That's when agriculture started and then everything changed. So that's the Paleolithic era. What does paleo mean? I'm actually very curious, I'm a curious guy. I want to understand everything. Paleo meaning. Oh, look. Older or ancient, especially read. So older or ancient. First human species, 2.5 million years. I love to learn about evolution. Because I feel like we're living in a time where evolution is happening right before our eyes. Like, we can see the evolution. Like, just look at like younger kids nowadays. They're way smarter. They're way, a lot of them are even jacked. Kids nowadays, teenagers nowadays are making millions of dollars. This is not normal. Okay, guys. A teenager making $1 million is not normal. When I was a kid, this was unheard of. This was impossible. This was unheard of. My parents, everyone, like when the older generations couldn't even fathom that idea. And now we're here. Okay?
6 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. This represents over 99% of human history, a time before agriculture, before cities, before written language. Yet this wasn't a static period. Massive innovations in technology, social organization, and artistic expression occurred throughout the Paleolithic. Our understanding of daily life during this era comes from multiple lines of evidence. Archaeological sites preserve stone tools, hearths, food remains, and occasionally more perishable items like textiles or wooden implements. Cave art and portable artifacts provide glimpses into their symbolic world. Ethnographic studies of recent hunter-gatherer societies offer additional insights, though we must be cautious about direct comparisons across such vast time spans. The Paleolithic wasn't a monolithic experience. It varied dramatically by...
What is monolithic? Why would he say that? Why would he say that like everyone just knows what that means? The Paleolithic was not a monolithic experience. Formed of a single large block of organization, it's a large, powerful, intractably indivisible, and uniform. Okay. Whatever that
region, climate, and time period. Early
it was separate.
Homo habilis living in Africa 2 million years ago had a profoundly different daily experience than Cro-Magnon humans painting the caves of France 20,000 years ago. climate was perhaps the most significant factor determining daily routines. During the Ice Ages, when much of northern Europe and Asia was covered in glaciers, survival demanded different strategies than in warmer periods or regions. Groups living near coasts or rivers developed fishing technologies, while those in forests or grasslands focused on different prey and plant resources. What unites all Paleolithic peoples is their lifestyle as hunter-gatherers, acquiring food through a combination of hunting animals and gathering wild plants.
So, you know, they had to like go around, go outside. You know, they were nomads. And I feel like in the day of today, we could either be sedentary or nomadic. We could choose between moving around from place to place or just settling in one place and building and just, you know, staying there.
So let's step back in time and examine what filled the hours, days, and seasons of our Paleolithic ancestors.
It's not a question of survival now, though. It's just choice.
The Paleolithic day began with the rising sun. Unlike our artificial lighting and rigid schedules, these early humans followed natural rhythms of light and dark.
And this is still true to this day. This still affects us. If you wake up with the sun and sleep with the sun, then that is your natural rhythm, and that is how the best you operate. Okay?
Adjusting to seasonal variations. Morning typically began with rekindling the previous night's fire. Archaeological evidence from sites like Terra Amata in France, dated to 380,000 years ago, shows carefully maintained hearths, critical for warmth, light, protection from predators, and cooking. Starting a fire from scratch was challenging. Most groups maintained and cooking.
I think it's like who says they were wearing underwear, bro? Who says they were wearing anything to hide their genitals? I highly doubt that.
Starting a fire from scratch was challenging. Most groups maintained embers or slow-burning materials overnight. Mornings were likely devoted to essential tasks requiring daylight. The band would assess immediate needs. Was food running low? Did tools need repair? Were there signs of game nearby? Water collection was a daily necessity, typically from nearby streams or springs, carried in containers made from animal bladders, woven baskets, or eventually pottery.
Imagine not knowing if you're going to be able to drink water that day. That is crazy, bro. That is your life force.
Rather than rigid schedules, Paleolithic life followed a pattern of immediate return activities and delayed return planning, preparing for future challenges. Evidence from sites like Gesher Benot Yaakov in Israel from nearly 800,000 years ago shows remarkable knowledge of seasonal plant cycles, suggesting sophisticated planning. The day's main activities varied by season and immediate needs, but food acquisition dominated. Adult males often focused on hunting, especially larger game, while women typically gathered plant foods and hunted smaller animals. However, this division wasn't rigid. Archaeological evidence suggests considerable flexibility in gender roles. Midday might include food preparation, tool maintenance, or rest during intense heat. As the day progressed, hunters returned with game, when successful of course, and gatherers with plant foods. As daylight waned, the community gathered around the fire. This evening time likely included storytelling, planning, and social bonding. Obtaining food.
Think about it, like that was just, you know, that was just cool for them. They just chill around the fire and talk, like that was their shit. You know, you go during the day, they go work, they go hunt. It's kind of like that today too. You know, during the day we go to work, we go to school, we go hunt, we go get our money. Then the day ends, we gather around with the gang, gather around with the family, and just chill. Some people just chill alone. Play video games, read. You know, it's arguably the same thing. Some people get in front of the computer and talk to y'all. Log into the metaverse, gather around the metaverse, you know?
Food was the primary occupation of Paleolithic peoples. Hunting large animals required considerable skill and coordination. Early humans likely began as opportunistic scavengers, but by 500,000 years ago at sites like Boxgrove in England, we see evidence of organized hunting. A horse shoulder blade from this site bears a clear spear wound, demonstrating direct hunting rather than scavenging. Early Paleolithic hunters used simple hand axes and wooden spears. By 400,000 years ago, humans at Schöning in Germany were crafting sophisticated wooden spears perfectly balanced for throwing. The introduction of spear throwers around 30,000 years ago dramatically increased range and power, while bow and arrow technology appeared in some regions by 20,000 years ago. Hunting wasn't always successful.
Man, it took them 10,000 years to go from spears to bows. Just to add a string on a wooden, just to understand, like, you know, the physics of like string and like a bending of a piece of wood. That's a long time, bro. Now technology advances every single day.
Making plant gathering the more reliable food source. Archaeological evidence shows Paleolithic people consumed a wide variety of plant foods, tubers, fruits, nuts, seeds, and leafy greens. Studies of dental calculus from Paleolithic teeth reveal traces of numerous plant species, including various medicinal plants. Plant gathering required extensive knowledge of growth cycles, habitats, and processing techniques. This knowledge was likely passed down through generations, creating sophisticated ecological understanding. The Paleolithic site at Coster in Illinois, dated to approximately 9,000 years ago, shows evidence of fishing using nets and hooks crafted from bone. Seasonal variation dictated rhythms of food acquisition. Spring might focus on gathering eggs and fresh greens, summer on berries and hunting young animals, autumn on nuts and preparing for winter, while winter often relied more heavily on stored foods and hunting. Food storage technologies were limited but crucial. Some groups dried meat to create early forms of jerky. Underground storage pits preserved certain foods in cooler temperatures. In colder regions, freezing provided natural preservation. The Paleolithic diet was remarkably diverse, much more so than early agricultural diets that followed. Analysis of bones from Paleolithic humans shows generally good nutrition with fewer deficiencies than their agricultural descendants. One crucial innovation was cooking.
Really? So the hunter-gatherers ate a way more diverse diet than the agriculture descendants. And those are our ancestors. Those are the people who shaped us. Like, you know, all they did was make kids that made kids that made kids. Now we're here. So we're still them at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And I did hear somewhere that a more diverse diet, the more you eat from different places, different types of foods, the better for your DNA, for your body to function. Okay, so watch how you eat that agriculture.
While the exact timing is debated, control of fire for cooking dates to at least 400,000 years ago, with some evidence suggesting much earlier origins. Cooking made many foods more digestible, releasing more calories and neutralizing natural toxins in some plants.
It's like alchemy.
Paleolithic humans spent considerable time manufacturing and maintaining tools. Tool making wasn't occasional but constant. Stone tools dulled with use and required regular resharpening or replacement. A skilled knapper could produce a functional cutting edge in minutes, but more complex tools required hours of careful work. The evolution of stone tool technology reveals increasing sophistication. The earliest Oldowan tools were simple stone cobbles with flakes removed to create a crude cutting edge. By 1.76 million years ago, Acheulean hand axes demonstrate careful bifacial flaking and symmetrical design. The Middle Paleolithic introduced levallois technique, allowing more control over the size and shape of stone flakes. The Upper Paleolithic, beginning around 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, saw an explosion of specialized tools: burins for engraving, scrapers for hide preparation, awls for puncturing, and projectile points for hunting. These weren't made by trial and error, but reflected sophisticated understanding of stone mechanics and intended functions. Tool materials extended beyond stone. Wood was undoubtedly the most common material, though it rarely preserves in archaeological sites. Remarkable exceptions include wooden spears and a yew wood spear tip from Clacton-on-Sea. These show careful shaping, with the wood's natural properties considered in the design. Bone, antler, and ivory became increasingly important in the Upper Paleolithic. These materials could be carved into fish hooks, needles, harpoons, and decorative items. Antler was particularly valued for its combination of strength and flexibility. Food processing tools included grinding stones for seeds, pounding tools for tough plant foods, and specialized cutting implements for butchery. Experiments show that stone tools could efficiently butcher even large animals like elephants, though the process was time-consuming. Containers were essential technology. Early humans likely used natural containers like gourds, shells, or animal bladders. By the Upper Paleolithic, evidence suggests the use of woven baskets and sewn hide bags. The earliest pottery appears by around 20,000 years ago in China. Clothing technology evolved with climatic challenges. During colder periods, hide preparation was essential. Stone scrapers removed fat and tissue from hides, while bone awls and needles allowed for sewing.
So they knew the fat was
Where did
bad.
Paleolithic humans actually live? Despite the caveman stereotype, caves were just one housing option among many. Natural shelters like caves and rock overhangs were indeed used when available, especially in regions with harsh weather. Famous cave sites like Lascaux or Altamira preserve evidence of extensive occupation. However, caves suitable for habitation were relatively rare, and evidence suggests they were often used seasonally rather than year-round. The archaeological record reveals various constructed shelters. At Terra Amata in France, archaeologists found traces of oval huts approximately 8 to 15 meters long, supported by wooden posts. At Mezherich in Ukraine, 15,000 years ago, mammoth bones were arranged in circular patterns to create dwelling foundations, likely covered with hides. Inside these shelters, space was organized for different activities. Hearths typically form the central focus, with evidence of sleeping areas, tool-making spaces, and food processing zones arranged around them. Home maintenance required ongoing work. Fire needed constant attention, shelters required repair after weather damage, and living areas needed periodic cleaning. At some sites, archaeologists have identified distinct dumping areas where refuse was deposited away from living spaces. Child rearing was integrated into daily life. Unlike modern society's age segregation, Paleolithic children likely observed and participated in adult activities from an early age. Personal hygiene is harder to trace archaeologically, but ethnographic studies of hunter-gatherers suggest regular practices, including dental cleaning with fibrous plants and bathing in available water sources. Home life also included care for ill or injured individuals. Several Paleolithic skeletons show evidence of healed serious injuries or long-term disabilities, indicating community support for those unable to contribute fully to subsistence activities. Contrary to popular portrayals of primitive existence, Paleolithic social life was rich and complex. The basic social unit was the band, typically 20 to 30 individuals consisting of several related families. These bands weren't isolated. Archaeological evidence shows regular interaction between groups. Exotic materials found far from their sources indicate trade networks spanning hundreds of miles. Social bonds were maintained through various activities. Sharing food was fundamental, creating reciprocal obligations. Evidence from sites like Dolny Vestanich 29,000 years ago shows large hearths capable of cooking enough food for substantial gatherings.
Yeah, back at they definitely needed to cooperate. The social life was crucial for survival. I still think that is the case today, right? Because people talk about loneliness. People talk about like how social media, makes people alone or isolated and things like that. But I don't really see it that way, I don't really see it that way because when you're on social media, you're still connecting to everybody else. When you're on the internet, you're still connecting to other people. It's just the distance. The fact of distance has been removed, It's like I don't like you still need the people running the internet you still need. You see, when when you say you stay at home and you deliver food, you still need the delivery guy. We still need that cooperation and that connection, that web of that web of human cooperation going on,
Suggesting communal feasting events. Art played a crucial role in Paleolithic social life. The earliest definitively human art includes ochre processing at Blombos Cave in South Africa, almost.
Art was probably a way of snapping time, of like stopping time and to put it on a wall. You know what I mean? You could argue that maybe it's still like that today. I wouldn't be able to make the connection. But art, so I guess art came before language, which is very interesting. Or did it? No, I think language came first. Not sure.
100,000 years ago. By the Upper Paleolithic, we see spectacular cave paintings, portable figurines, and musical instruments. Music is ephemeral, but surviving instruments offer tantalizing glimpses. Bone flutes dating to 43,000 years ago have been found in Germany, with careful reconstruction showing they produced notes in recognizable scales, paired with drums made from stretched hides or hollowed logs, which rarely preserve. These suggest sophisticated musical traditions. Evidence for medicine and healing practices comes from plant residues with medicinal properties found in dental calculus. Some shamanic practices may be reflected in therianthropic, a human-animal hybrid images in cave art, possibly depicting transformed states of consciousness. Conflict existed but wasn't constant. While some Paleolithic skeletons show violence-related injuries, they're relatively rare compared to later periods. Resource abundance relative to population likely reduced competition in many regions. The Paleolithic lifestyle represents the longest and most successful human adaptation, sustaining our species through dramatic climate changes and enabling global colonization. What can we learn from this enduring way of life? First, Paleolithic humans were remarkably skilled environmental managers. Rather than passive victims of their environment, they actively shaped landscapes through selective hunting, plant management, and even controlled burning. Archaeological evidence from Australia shows Aboriginal fire management dating back 65,000 years, creating mosaic landscapes that enhanced biodiversity. Second, Paleolithic lifeways demanded extraordinary knowledge breadth. Each individual needed working understanding of hundreds of plant and animal species, geological resources, weather patterns, tool manufacture, and social dynamics. This generalist knowledge contrasts sharply with our modern specialization. Third, their technologies were sophisticated adaptations to environmental challenges. While simple in appearance compared to modern equivalents, Paleolithic tools represented elegant solutions developed through generations of refinement. The principles behind many modern tools were established during this period. Perhaps most significantly, the Paleolithic period saw the emergence of symbolic expression, abstract thinking, and cultural complexity that defines humanity. The Paleolithic wasn't a primitive prelude to civilization, but a highly successful and sustainable adaptation. For over 99% of human history, this lifestyle maintained population balance with resources and supported rich cultural traditions, achievements worth considering as we face our own environmental challenges. So what did cavemen do all day? They engaged in a complex balance of immediate needs and long-term planning. They manufactured and maintained essential technologies. They acquired, processed, and shared food. They created and repaired shelters. They taught their children practical and cultural knowledge. They developed art, music, and symbolic systems. They maintained social bonds within and between groups. They adapted to environmental challenges through innovation and mobility. When we look at the archaeological record with fresh eyes, we see not primitive ancestors, but innovative humans facing environmental challenges with creativity and resilience. Their solutions, from sophisticated hunting technologies to symbolic art, laid the foundations for all subsequent human achievements. Next time you imagine a caveman, consider not a fur-clad brute but a skilled technologist, a knowledgeable botanist, an innovative artist, and a cooperative community member, all rolled into one remarkably adaptable human, not so different from ourselves.
Man,
Dawn breaks over the rugged
phenomenal.
landscape as a small group.
Video, bro. That was a phenomenal video, man. Wow. Leave your thoughts on the comments down below. Leave a thumbs up on the video. I'll catch you guys in the next. Actually, no, I got a couple things to say. Like, that really just, you know, what he did was, the way he broke that down was really good. I mean, I won't say that, like, I don't really think that all of that was, you know, condensed into one caveman, one human. I'm pretty sure that, you know, each had their own different specialization, whether artists, botanists, you know, taking care of, like, the fruits and the plants, the hunters. Obviously it's kind of the same way, we live today with specializations. I think that's probably where it started. It's just interesting that was 3 million years ago. That's a really long time. And from 3 million years, they were doing that all the way to 10,000 years ago. So this new 10,000 years ago era isn't that long, and so much change has happened since then. Then again, like, to change is exponential. Change grows and grows, gets faster and faster as time goes. So anyways, leave your thoughts on the comments down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one.